President Biden is now responding to new pressure from within his own party to punish Saudi Arabia for cutting oil production and siding with Russia in the middle of this war on Ukraine. But for the first time, the president's promising that the U.S.-Saudi relationship will not be the same.
When this House and Senate gets back, they're going to have to. There's going to be some consequences for what they've done with Russia.
What kind of consequences? Menendez says suspend all arms sales. Is that something you'd consider?
I'm not going to get into what I'd consider and what I have in mind, but there will be consequences.
And Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chairman Bob Menendez joins me now. That was obviously Jake Tapper in a CNN interview with the president. So, Senator, have you heard from the president yet? Because we're told by the White House that, in fact, he will have some talks with senators, but won't really settle down and work on this until after the elections when Congress is back.
Good to be with you, Andrea. No, I haven't spoken to the president yet. I do expect to speak with members of the administration and eventually the president. But independently of that, we have our own co-equal branch of government views. I'll share it with the president and the administration, but many of them we will pursue because Saudi Arabia cannot, with impunity, ultimately give the global markets energy insecurity, create a greater economic challenge at a time of global economic concerns, and fuel Putin's war machine. Those are all the actions that are the consequences of the decision that Saudi Arabia led at the OPEC cartel.
You know, every decision has consequences. We've had within 70 years of a strategic alliance with Saudi Arabia, and not just for oil. It's also a security alliance against Iran, for instance. So how practical is it to cut them off, maybe withdraw troops, cut them off from weapons, freeze it for a year, given the increasing aggressiveness by Iran?
Well, the reality is that's one of the decisions that the Saudis will have to make. Who are they going to rely upon to have greater security from Iran, which is an existential threat, than the United States? Russia? Russia's in bed with Iran. They're in bed with Iran in Syria. Putin is supplicating to Iran to give him Iranian drones and other assistance. So the bottom line is Russia is not your bulwark against Iran if you're a country concerned about Iran's actions. We are. And so at the end of the day, they have to understand that their actions have consequences. And so if we're not immediately going to continue to deploy our strategic defense for them, they'll have to think about that. You cannot have actions without consequences, especially when those actions affect the national interests and security of the United States.
Do you factor in the fact that this brash, young Saudi crown prince is going to be most likely the country's king for the foreseeable future, for decades and decades?
Well, look, that's why President Biden made an extraordinary trip to the region and met with the crown prince in a multi-versed approach. It was about the ability to have regional Gulf cooperation with each other against Iran. It was about having better relationships with Israel. It was about cooperation with the United States on economic questions. And yes, it was about global oil security. But the response of the Crown basically is not just a slap in the face to the United States, it's a slap in the face to the Western world, which is leading a multilateral international effort against Vladimir Putin. He's sided with Putin. He's fueling Putin's war machines. So there are many things the administration can think about. Arms sales is just one element. Of course, with the committee that I chair, I have some jurisdiction over that, and I've used that in the past to stop arms sales in 2019 when Trump gave them $8 billion of arms sales. But there's other things. For example, should OPEC be subject to being allowed to be sued as a cartel in the United States? Does the Crown Prince himself have sovereign immunity as 9/11 families are pursuing the kingdom? Are we going to continue to provide the bulwark of support to them on Iran when, in fact, our focus could be our ally, the state of Israel, that shares our values and acts in cooperation with us?
what would you tell the president to do about Venezuela? Because there is consideration of letting Chevron in Venezuela pump oil again, despite the fact that the dictator Maduro has not done anything on democratic reforms.
Well, listen, in all of these things, there's a calibration, right? I would simply say that if you give and get term, then that's not a good idea. These dictatorships, these authoritarian figures in the world, they know how to take, but they're unwilling to give. And the result of that is a bad deal, whether that's Iran's nuclear posture, whether that's the crown prince and what he's done to fuel Putin's war machine, or whether it's Maduro that has created the movement of 8 million Venezuelans. We talk about how many Ukrainians have fled Ukraine. 8 million Venezuelans have fled Venezuela, which are all throughout the hemisphere and now at our southern border. So I would just not give him the ability to pump oil without other reciprocal actions by the Maduro regime.
Senator Bob Menendez, Senate Foreign Relations Chairman, thank you very much.